Hawthorne was a huge gap. Hawthorne was a huge gap. Noon's blue pitcher was a huge gap. Bush, burning bush was a huge gap, which I was not able to fill up. But this now it is possible to see that this can help us there. So one aspect of why digital ways of things integrating in our teaching learning classroom there. Okay? Let me share a screen for the second point. Okay, so now generative literature, we come to this point. Second one is that we are in a time where now digital humanities is a new area wherein they try to explore a couple of things, that how to read literature and how to write literature. So it is also, this article also is interesting. In case you have not come across Matthew Kirschenbaum's article, What is Digital Humanities and What's It Doing in English Departments? So I recommend you to read this article if you have not come across this article. Our point right now is digitization of literature to generation of literature. That how literature also like generates a literature. Also like for example, it is something like that. Can computer write a poetry? Yes. Can computer write a poetry or not? Now it is for this that we want to do one small activity to understand this idea, that what kind of what is the way in which we can address this question here. I am sharing a link with you in the chat, and a very quick response to this. I want in this, yeah, in the chat I am putting the link, and in this you will find poems which are written by humans and written by robots, by machines. So there is a collection of poems written by humans as well as by robots, and you have to identify whether this poem is written by human or by robot. Small poems, very short poems are there, hardly 4 to 5 poems, very quick reading, and quickly respond there. I hope you are able to find the link and open it also. Yes, you are able to get to the link. Yes, Manoj bhai, ચાર નો time થયો છે. Manoj bhai. Yeah, Manoj bhai, are you able to listen me? Manoj Chaya. Yeah, you can unmute. Yeah, you can unmute. Yeah.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, yes. Are you from Gujarat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we have come across somewhere earlier also.
We have met in some conference and all.
Yeah, something. એટલે તમને બગાસા આવે છે એટલે કહું છું કે હવે ચાનો સમય થયો છે.
Sorry, sir.
જરૂર છે. And speaking in Gujarati with Mr. Manoj.
Right.
He's yawning. So it's time for a tea now. So you can have a couple of sips. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I hope you are able to open this link, everybody, and quick responses. So, okay, I got 2 responses already from the participants. 2 of you have already replied. Okay. Yeah, 2 of you have already replied. Yeah. Couple of more minutes and you can, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Prajakta Raut. Yeah, we received your response. Yeah. So this is that you will get auto-generated email also, where you will find some links to read further later on if you want to investigate this topic. If you have not come across this idea about can computers write poetry, then you will get some useful links in the mail that you will get, which later on you can explore also. So generative literature, we call it, that literature is created by humans, generated by machines. So here is the small test to identify whether we are able to see that there is a difference between human created literature and machine generated literature. Is there any difference which can be identified or not? Because we know that modern poems were so obscure that it was very difficult to understand. Modern poems were very difficult to understand also. So, yes, yeah, Dr. Savita also has given a response. Marks are not important, but well, just to see how things work out there.
Yeah, of course, sir. But it's such an innovative way that you have thought of, and immediately getting the feedback. That's really fantastic. You are teaching us how we can engage our students so well.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I also agree.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yes, so 8 out of 10. Yeah, also that also is interesting. It engages.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yes, so we got a few more responses. Now we have reached to.
मला 8 मिळाले, तिला 6 मिळाले, सविताला.
Let me see how many of you have responded so far.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Sir, it's very innovative. I had not imagined, sir, and at times, sir, I could feel intuitively that it is certainly not by human beings.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir, the poems which are composed by human beings, sir, I could intuitively feel like that is a sort of deviation and all that. But the poems which were actually composed by the robots, sir, I felt that they are technically right and all that, super perfectionism.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's why this is a very interesting topic. And there is a very interesting TED talk on this. So later on you can search TED talk on can computers write poem, and you will find a very interesting research being done on this. And now obviously this electronic literature or literature based on algorithm, it has moved quite ahead also of the things. Yeah. So so we got enough response. Let me share the things to see how we respond to this. I'm sharing a screen.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So then too, if we really try to realize man has become machine nowadays, so we actually have started thinking like machine. So sometimes we feel like which can be made up out of machine and human brain, because modern poetry is so complex that we feel certain times like this also can be written by a man. That's possible. But then too, there are certain things, as Prajakta said, intuitively we feel कि ये machine ने किया होगा, ये आदमी ने किया होगा.
Yes, yeah. So like the mechanization of the human beings, from there to robotization of human beings. Yeah? So very interesting way we are moving, and that is a very interesting point to be seen when we try to see what machines can do. Let us just quickly check our result here, and we see that our response is divided. Yeah, it's irrespective of right and wrong answer. What we find is that we are almost 45-55%. So we humans are not able to find whether the poem is written by a computer or a human. We are divided among ourselves. We are not able to say with guarantee that this poem is written by only human or by a machine. So in most of the poem here we find 30 to 70%. Here again 60-40%. Here 50-50. So that is very confusing, that our human intelligence is doubting the human mind. What we are doubting is the other humans. We are doubting that no, this is not the human being who is writing, this is a machine. Actually it is by a human being. So that is something very significant to be seen in this aspect there. So when we see this digital intervention or reading or literature generated by digital, we find that they are sometimes better than human beings. They are more understandable than the human written literature. Human written literature is not understandable also. Even if you will see the experiments done with paintings. So if you have a robot, if you program the robot will do a better pictures than human beings, whether it is realistic or abstract. Whether it is abstract painting or realistic, perhaps the robotic painting might perhaps be far better than the human also. So the very important point we see here, there are lots of websites which we can see, which helps us in in reading this literature also. Coming back to the slides, let me come back to yeah, just okay. So we see that there are many these websites, poem generator websites, and whether you want to have haiku or rhyming couplets or sonnet or limerick, anything, you just give keywords and the poem is ready. So we will have now, like people will say that this is my my favorite human poet, this is my favorite machine poet. So people will now have this, that who is my favorite poet? It may be human also, it can be a machine also. So generative literature, and which will require a new aesthetics, it will require new poetics also. Our poetic, the created literature, we need to think of a generative literature also in the same context there. Moving from there to researching literature, digital intervention in researching literature there. And here we find that digital humanities has intervened in a big way. And if by a human capacity, we can read 10, 20, 50 literary texts in a given time, machine can read thousands of literary texts in a given time. So that scope of machine is very huge. And so if we are reading for just very quick gathering of information, then humans will not be able to read it as quickly as machines can read. For example, if I have this question, I have a question like in recent times, in last 200 years, about whom there had been a great talk in English language or in the books which are published there, about whom. And I put this question like Sherlock Holmes, Albert Einstein, or Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a novel by Mary Shelley. Yeah? And so I put that because in the back of my mind, there is a feminist discourse. And I try to investigate that patriarchy has always kept the voice of a woman silent. The history writing has been very patriarchal. And so whenever there were women contributions, it has remained silent to those things. So Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, they were not addressed in the old history books. If you pick up 50, 70 years old English literature history books, you may not find a reference of Afra Ben, or you may not find a reference of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's work also. So what is happening to them now? If I have this question, I have to read thousands of books. But instead of that, if I just try this idea, let me share a screen again. If I go to this project of Google Books project, and in Google Books project, if I see this, I keep this word. This is known as Ngram project, Ngram viewer. That is the project that they are running. And here, if I give these words, I find that today there is much literature on Frankenstein than on Albert Einstein or Sherlock Holmes. And you can see this Frankenstein, there was no people talking in 1820. There were very few people who were talking about until there is the rise of feminism. And then 60s and 70s, when we see the rise in feminism, we find sudden interest in Frankenstein. And then it goes on increasing. And a literary text which was considered only a popular novel by most of the people, having no worth at all and will be lost to the oblivion within 5-10 years, is now at the top, coming down to 2020, 2022. Frankenstein is much ahead of Sherlock Holmes or Albert Einstein. In what? 200 years of literature given or in the record of Google Books. Whatever books Google has digitized, in that it is searching and it gives this result also. So same way, if I search Afra Ben, if I look for this, the word, then again I find that, well, in the initial time, there was no interest in Afra Ben. She is writing in Restoration time, along with Dryden, Comedy of Manners, the only women perhaps of worth noticing in the gang of Comedy of Manners. Those all comedies that were written. They're full of lasciviousness and other kinds of things. But nobody's talking until we come down to 1950s, and then there is a subsequent revived interest in Afraben that has been seen. So for so many years, there was silence about Afraben. See how digital reading is helping us in concluding that yes, history writing is a patriarchal process, and it has worked in such a way that nobody were taking notice of writers like Afraben, whose contribution should be taken as worth noticing, because during those comedy writers, there were nobody who were great masters of drama like Shakespeare or Christopher Marlowe. But whoever the writers were there, among them, Afraben was having some kind of a material which should be taken care of, but was not taken care of. So now reading literature, in this reading of literature, how technology is helping us, that point we can see in this context here. So and then with this now, for more or further example, or if you are research guide and if you want your students to explore, then this is a very good project site. This is Corpus Linguistics in Context. Birmingham University is running this website, Click Dickens project. And this Click Dickens project, if we click on this link, we'll come to this website, University of Birmingham, Click Dickens. They have put all the material of Charles Dickens on this website. They have put here, and anybody who wants to use this tool, digital tool, to get new answers from Charles Dickens' text, they can work almost free of cost on this project. So they have made a tool, they have converted digital text, they have made it available, various tools and machines are made, codes are made, and now people can keep on working on this particular platform. And they have given very interesting activity book also, that with the help of this one can learn how you can have new questions and you can find a very surprising answers from this also. So corpus linguistics, a study which people do study in language, but now even in literature, that becomes very significant also. So digital intervention in reading, generative literature, and researching literature, so where we find that now the new avenues are opening up, and we need to be aware about the new way that the literature is to be addressed also, as far as reading, creating, as well as researching is concerned. Next point, artificial intelligence and post-truth era. So now we know that we all suffer from unconscious bias. And so far, our literary theories and our critical idioms, they were telling us that how to overcome this prejudices and biases. Ideologies play a very vital role in social formations. So whether it is Michel Foucault, who told about knowledge and power, or Althusser, who said about ideological state apparatus, Karl Marx, or many other critics, Derrida, and many other might have told us that we have to be like very conscious about the way we are seeing, and the things which are naturalized to us are not natural. The culture might have naturalized, and in culture, the dominant elite groups, they try to make things natural, and we are like conditioned by those things, and so we keep on behaving or doing a thing in a particular way. That is what our theories was teaching to us. But now we rely a lot on artificial intelligence for taking lots of decisions. So government policies or big decisions are taken based on big data, and this big data are processed by artificial intelligence. Our worry is this, that those people who are involved in artificial intelligence, they do not know about our critical theories. They do not study English literature. They are software engineers. And so with absence of the idea that critical theories are necessary to overcome biases, what is happening is that all those traditional biases are incepting inside our artificial intelligence. And so the kind of decisions which are taken based on artificial intelligence are again very traditional decisions. And so there is a dire need for critical theories, which we deal with English literature and criticism, to be taught to software engineers also. There are glaring examples like Kriti Sharma and Robin Hausers. They have seen that how our artificial intelligence is biased towards women, or how this bias or patriarchal bias is also found in artificial intelligence. Their talks are worth listening to understand that if we will not like expand the horizons of critical theories, and we will not reach out to the larger audience which deals with digital tools, then perhaps we will again be in a society where all those traditional way of things were happening, and we again will become a kind of a puppet or a robot of a traditional society. So how to make our artificial intelligence free from that? Even this is a very interesting idea when we look at driverless motor cars. How are the cars going to take decision when they have to collide with somebody? So this website is a very interesting website. Moralmachine.mit.edu. They give case studies that supposing you are driving and there is a cyclist here, there is an old person there, there are children here, and if your brake fails, what will be your decision? Where will you collide? Will you save yourself or a cyclist or an old person? Now, whatever we are going to do, the machine is going to do. So whatever coding we are going to do with the machines is exactly what we think we should do. So now if our minds are not ready ethically, morally, if they are not free from biases, prejudices, then our artificial intelligence, our new machines are going to behave in the same way on. We may blame machines, but then machines are not at fault. It is our biases and prejudices which are to be seen in this context also. We move towards the idea of digital, or we can say designer babies also now. So genetically modified humans, genetically modified humans. So there is a very interesting ethical dilemma about it, that should we go in this direction or not? Like, for example, if I love the eyes of cat, and I want those eyes to be given to my child, or I like a fur, tiger fur on the body, and I want to give that to my child. So genetically modified, and when the child is born, when the child is only single cell in the embryo, you can do the operation there, and you can incept a DNA, and you can have a child with whatever eyes you want, whatever type of hairs you want, whatever type of skin you want. So parents may go for a designer babies, genetically modified kids and other things. They may start moving in this direction also. The ethical dilemma is this, that if the child will grow, and then child will ask that I don't want these eyes, I don't want this hair, I don't want this color, then it is, you can't go back now. There is no return from this. Then what will happen to that child? The fate of the child is terribly written by parents. But well, what this question leads us to is something very interesting. As when we see poems generated by machine, where it leads to us, that is interesting here also, is that are we not already programming our babies into a kind of a religion, into a kind of a culture, into a kind of a behavioral pattern? So when the child is not adult, we thrust a religion on them, we thrust a culture on them, we thrust food habits on the children also. So when the child grow and they say that, well, I'm not easy with this religion. Now, can the child be free from that religion, from those food habits, from those clothing habits? That's why when Simone de Beauvoir says that women are not born, they are made by culture. So this making of, this robotization of humans that is already happening, what are we doing about that? So that is an interesting concern which this debate leads us to also, that are we really making humans free from, or are they free to make their own choices, or we control them in one or the another way? There is an interesting example of this genetical modification in China. One doctor has already worked on this, and he said that there was one parent who was suffering from AIDS. After father was suffering from AIDS, but then he wanted to be father. But then, as it was described by doctors that the child will have AIDS, so it is better they don't go for the children. But then this doctor said that in embryo, I modified the genome and now the child will not have AIDS. So that is the positive use of this genetically modification or digital or designing a child, that you can make children free from hereditary disease, So that is also the positive aspect. People have also said this, that if uh, like today I make a choice that I don't want to modify my child, it will be natural. But then when the other people will make a choice of modifying their child, and they are more intelligent, they are more healthy, they are good in sports, they are good in studies, then my child may ask me that why have you not modified me? Now for me, competition with these people is almost impossible. So we come to this point that this idea of digital child is a very, very complex decision. How are we going to come out from that? We don't know. Somewhere our reading of English literature, critical theories has to help us in coming with this also. At the same time, as I told earlier, that we need to see what social media is doing. Social Dilemma is a very interesting documentary. So unless we do not see this, that what is Social Dilemma doing and how they control us, we can't make a critic of that also. So our presence on that, and again, it is not to say that we should not use Social Dilemma. Then it will be like we should not live at all. People will say that, well, you have a problem in this country, leave this country, go to Afghanistan, go to Pakistan, or if you have a problem in life, commit suicide. No, you want to live, but you want to have a policies and rules wherein there are no controls. Social media or anything that comes should really empower people rather than companies. If companies are empowered, it is problem. But if I don't know how companies empower people in the name of empowerment, how they control, if I'm not aware, I will not be able to make a critic of that also. So this documentary, Social Dilemma, is very interesting, eye-opener to see in that. This film also is very interesting, Don't Look Up, which also deals in a very interesting way with the idea of climate change, or how the corporate world, how the political world, they try to control the life, or they try to divert our attention from the issues about climate change to other kinds of things also. So again, a very strongly recommended film. In case you have not watched, then Don't Look Up is a wonderful metaphor of our time, set in American society, but India also is very much seen or can be read into the context of American society here also. So how this technology is hacking humans, that is what we need to question and examine also along with this. So people many times question that, are our electronic voting machines hacked? And so a particular political party keeps on winning. I normally tell them that forget about machines. Humans are hacked. Who are hacked are humans. And what are we going to do with the hacking of humans? This. So when somebody tells Thali Bajao and people do that, when they say Diya Jalao or Tiranga Lehrao and people do that, it means that people are completely hacked by some language. Some kind of a language is already controlling larger number of people. And so that concern, that the theological concern is Kathputli. Charles Chaplin dealt with the machine era and mechanization, but in a different way. Today, robotization of humans are happening. So how are we going to question that hacking of human beings? That also is a grave concern. And I see that literature, teaching of literature in digital age can save us from this. Very much required. Critical theories of literature is very much required in this time to come out from this also. And finally, in last 5 minutes, if I have to say that, which approach is more relevant to in this time, in a digital era, to deal with literature? Which approach? Then I say cultural studies. Cultural studies is very important, because cultural studies actually helps us in read the power relations, how the meanings are generated. Cultural studies is not about the high culture. It is not about the past culture, but it is about contemporary. It is about how the power controls, the elite culture controls meanings, and how the non-elite view of life, art are rejected as tasteless or non-aesthetics or even stupid by the elite. So that idea is very significant. Cultural studies and its approach, which deals with various goals like it transcends the confines of particular discipline as a literary criticism or history. So it is not dealing with only the aesthetics of literature, but it brings in politics, economics, globalization, sociology, psychology, everything that happens around us. Everything is brought in. It is very much politically engaged. Cultural studies is politically engaged. And if our teaching of literature will not be politically engaged, then we'll not be able to see how they can overcome the biases in this post-truth era. Because today, the way digital media, WhatsApp University, and the other kinds of things, the way they are giving us truth, and the way people are easily believing into those truths, we require a very sharp, politically engaged debate and discussions in our classrooms there. And then cultural studies perhaps remain something very significant to help us, because it's a very large umbrella term wherein many things can be incorporated in these 5 types of cultural studies, which allow us to have very significant reading also. Finally, cultural studies will allow us to read all these areas also, like what is this speed and politics, as well as what is slowness. So today we also need to talk about slow movement. When digital is all about speed, everything is moving very fast. Carl Honor's book, In Praise of Slowness, the slow movement, is something very significant. So to make a critique of the digital culture, if anything we require, it is Carl Honor's way of looking, In Praise of Slowness. So what is this slow movement? How that becomes very significant part of our life, or it has to be a part of that, speed and politics. Baudrillard's simulacra is very, very important today. Baudrillard's simulacra and simulation, where he said that it will be very difficult to differentiate between what is origin and what is duplicate. We will fail to differentiate between original and the duplicate, because digital copies are almost similar. So what we see as a digital platform, it all seems to be so true to us that we can't differentiate. And that is the problem of today, that we have become robots of the digital media. Whatever comes to us, we consume as truth, and we rarely question also. Madam Bhagyasri, Madam, yeah, we had this debate in our resource persons group also, like how people readily believe into something that is written on some website without critical questioning about those kinds of things also. And
Yes.
yeah, terribly, in a terribly wrong manner, post-colonial arguments are used nowadays. A terribly wrong way, post-colonial arguments are also used in a fake defense of nationalism, in a fake defense of culture or religion also. So we need to have, Baudrillard can help us, and Ulrich Beck, Risk Society, also is an interesting text to be seen. This all becomes part of cultural studies. So that's how that approach can be a significant approach to study English literature in the time of digital age. So our morning session was about technically becoming ready for the technical era as a teacher of English literature. And in the second part, we rhetorically try to see that the time in which we live, perhaps the critical theories of English literature can save us from the deluge of the fakeness and the WhatsApp University kind of thing that is going on there. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I can see all the faces very excited and very, gratified. It was a huge feast today. And because of your agreement to shift your class, it began with a great celebrity. And then we have scholars like you and Dr. Khan, and especially your 2 sessions, I can see very clearly now the way you differentiated between not only getting digitalized, but also the pros and cons, the black and white side of digitalization. And I liked the way you summed up the whole discussion, not only after your demonstration of lines from poetry, lines from drama, and how Google or what you call open source was helping you to find the small meanings and terminology and the references, but also the way you summed up in this parallel existence of digital world and human world. And this is always going to be parallel because we cannot make it one. That is a problem. When we think of digitalization, like you said, there are also dangers of digitalization where we are losing human touch, we are losing human contact, and there are many human factors which are getting affected, along with the parent-child relationship, which is most affected area nowadays, because the children busy in WhatsApp university, as you said, and parents busy in their own computers and mobiles. So are we living with only our mobile, only our laptop, and we have no human touch and human contact? And this has also given rise to a series of psychic and psychological issues. I can see the people who are constantly stressed, the people from the corporate world carrying the laptop, with their uniform corporate dress, and they look like salesman robots of the corporate world, and they have a typical lifestyle, all the time. On the local train also, they are searching on their keyboard, and it looks like a robotic world altogether. So where all this is going to carry us, and what do we aim at? My concern is only how do we decide the purpose and the proportion. Then only we can use it positively, and we can avoid the dangers, the black side of the digitalized world. So like you said, in earlier times, we used to listen to small stories and fables. And I remember one fable which was like Aesop's fable. It is Indian story. A scholarly man who is a very well-read and learned person, in those days, people were illiterate, but even they were wise. And the people who were reading many books were like bookworms, having less practical knowledge, but having more knowledge from the books. So these two people were going in a boat, and the river was about to, get the stormy winds now. And the one man who was very scholarly was asking the other man, do you know how to read the books which are written in French language? The other man said, no, I don't know French. And he said, oh, you don't know French, such a popular language, you should have learned that. So this man was getting complex. Immediately he asked, have you seen some Japanese scholars, Japanese libraries? He said, no, I have never been to Japan. And this scholarly man again felt proud, and he said, you know what, I have learned Japanese language, and I have been to Japan, and I know many Japanese libraries as well. So he was going on and on, like Dr. Faustus. He had known everything. In the end, there was a storm, in the river. And this simple man who was feeling complex and inferior to the learned man said, I think there is a stormy wind now and we have to save our lives. Do you know how to swim? And the bookworm, the scholarly man said, no, I can't swim, please save me. I have to take your help. So that was the example given by my teacher to me. It's a very primary story, but it tells us about the life skills, which are also equally important for our survival, for our mental and physical health. We need to be in touch with not only life, but also with nature. If technology is taking us away from nature, then it is not good. We have to cut it there. We have to block it there. We have to decide the proportion. How much technology do we need? The extreme level will always be in bad effect. So we have to, what we say, draw our lines. How much mobile we are using in a day. There are people are also talking about the disease or the body fluctuations that you get because of the vibrations of mobile. People who keep their mobiles when they sleep in the night, they keep near the pillow for the alarm or something, or late night they keep chatting and watching the Facebook or other messages. Even I do that sometimes, because sometimes I get carried away. But now I have started remembering that I am not going to let the human factor be affected. So I think this is individual decision for all of us. How much technology we need for survival, how much technology we need for scholarship, and how much technology we want to exploit for making us better and better and better in this competitive world. So thank you very much, sir. It was a very, very, very enlightening series of sessions. Both the sessions were very good. Let me invite my participant, Jyoti Rama, to offer a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir. On behalf of the fellow participants at HRDC, University of Mumbai, I deem it a privilege to render a vote of thanks for the session. I thank you, sir, for offering your insights on digital technologies used in teaching in today's world. Upgrading ourselves in digital technologies is the need of the hour. Sir, you highlighted on incorporating traditional method with that of digital method of teaching in classroom. Using technology helps us to reach students globally. Sir, you taught us how Google image search can also help us to understand literature. So you also told us that a lot of websites like poem generator websites are available to read literature. All this is new to us. We also thank you, sir, for answering our questions patiently. We had a lot to learn from both your sessions. We'll definitely imbibe the essence of your speech. So thank you once again.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. And I really want to request you to come to Mumbai someday, and we will arrange for that, because my students need to learn from you how to do these expert PPTs and presentations.
No, of course, we will arrange the physical session with the students also. Thanks
Yes,
a lot.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think, ma'am and sir, there should be a double round of applause because he was there for 2
Yes.
sessions and we really want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
A big thank you.
Yes, thank you, Savita, for this appreciation. And friends, now it's a time to relax. So the evening is yours, and let me just declare that I was expecting the film reviews today, but because it's becoming slightly hectic for you all, and the request that I got from some of the participants, let us consider this. And I have already written on the group, you can submit your film reviews up to day after tomorrow evening, which is Wednesday evening. And suppose you have already sent it hurriedly and now you feel that you got some time, you can also revise. You can add something, you can revise the one you submitted, and you can send it as mentioning that this is the final version to be considered. Thank you. Have a good time in the evening.
Thank you.
And come back tomorrow, same time.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Today's
Thank
evening
you.
was really
Thank you.
special.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right from the first session.
Bye.